Hi, guys. Thank you for joining. This is Essence of Science, and today we're talking about Jane Goodall. I'm Amanda Armagost.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. And it's interesting because Jane Goodall originally wasn't a scientist at all. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah.
I think she's the first person to receive a PhD without a bachelor's degree in her industry.
Yeah. And what do you know about Jane Goodall? Now, by the way, she just recently passed away.
Yep, she just passed away, which is kind of what brought up this topic. But I love Jane Goodall. I think she's a super cool girl. I know she loves chimps, and she
actually ended up hating
chimps. Okay, she does not love chimps. She hates chimps, but she likes to study chimps, and she does have a lot of patience because she was one of the first people to be able to realize that each individual chimp has its own personality, uses tools, things like that.
And she's actually didn't just became a scientist by virtue of just being a curious person and observant person, but she created a new branch of science. I think that is. So I was a little, thinking about that. Should it be a sense of history or a sense of science? But I think a sense of science would do more credit to the work she did. So, what do you know about the young? How old was she when she passed away?
91.
Yeah, so this has been going on for a long time. But what do you know about the young?
I know that she was inspired by the movie Tarzan.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it's cute because you probably don't remember this, but the main character in the movie Tarzan, like the girl, is named Jane.
Jane, yeah.
Yeah.
That we say when today, are you going to be Jane to my Tarzan? We say that.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. What do you know about Jane and Tarzan?
I just know that she was inspired by the movie.
But do you know what Tarzan is? You know Tarzan?
The movie, yeah.
Yeah, well, it used to be a show, then a cartoon, and it's an old thing. It's about this young white European who goes with parent to Africa, and the parent get killed or something bad happens, and Tarzan is raised by the animal in the jungle. It's like a jungle book. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, those are two different things.
Two different things, but it's very similar. Mm-hmm. That the Mowgli jungle book is in India. Tarzan is in Africa, and I think Jane Goodall is the closest somebody ever come to be a real Tarzan. But the interesting part is that I saw a comedy that this guy from Africa was mocking Tarzan, saying, we have been living in Africa for thousands of years. We need a white European to come and talk to our animals here and connect to our nature. It's so typical of European.
I know that when she first started her life as a scientist, I guess you could say, or life as someone observing gorillas, she was actually discouraged at first.
Oh, yeah. But I think like probably any girl in that time, they were discouraged to live out their ambitions.
Well, that wasn't what I was referring to, actually.
What were you referring to?
I was referring to she was discouraged by herself. Oh. Like when she was out there, she felt when she was trying to live with the chimps, she felt very isolated and lonely. And actually, they were ignoring her at first. They wouldn't connect with her.
The chimps?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want a chimp connect to you because have you seen how chimp they behave?
But they ended up connecting with her.
Yeah. But I think she got a grant. Long time ago, she got a grant with lots of things. And she was scared of, and don't do this, Africa. And quite frankly, Africa wasn't that safe then. Poachers, conflicts, rebellion, murder, literally murder. We all know about the other person who a movie was made, Gorilla and Mist, if you want to know that.
I don't know about that.
That was another person who was actually observing gorillas, who got actually killed by the poachers. Yeah, so
by the poachers?
By the poachers, yeah. Not by gorillas. Gorillas are extremely gentle, actually, compared to chimps. But either way, they talk about Jane Goodall. she was encouraged, and that was a very brave decision for her to use that grant to go there, and she did only one thing, and which is the core of science. She observed and she documented. That's all what you need to do to be a scientist. Observe, be patient, observe and document. So, and that's what she did. I mean, obviously we know that she was 91-year old, and she started when she was barely in her 20s. So you can calculate when she started that.
Yeah, and I can only imagine how much the world has changed physically, like observing these chimpanzees and seeing how much the world advances itself throughout all those 70 years. That's pretty crazy to think about.
How much the world changes for human, because chimp now and chimp then behave the same way.
Yeah, but
and
the world changes for them too. When their environment is getting torn apart.
Yeah, not in a good way.
Yeah, and they're losing their homes and everything the humanity is pushing into where they live. Imagine how much things changed for her in those 70 years.
You had some observation yourself, not about chimps, but about monkeys. That's a good place,
Yeah, but keep in mind, chimps are very different from monkeys, and Jane makes sure to understand that.
Yes. But you had a very short observation of the monkeys. I want to use your experience and then expand it to Jane's observation. She did a lots of books about that, and she made the science out of it. But tell me about your monkey observation.
Obviously, monkeys are highly intelligent creatures. They have thumbs, and they're sneaky. They come up with plans to trick you, and they can be trained by humans to trick you to benefit the human, and probably the monkey benefits itself too. But
what do the monkey want?
Food, sugar.
Yeah, sure.
The monkey that I saw, well, I did see a lot of monkeys in India, and I did see them picking the bugs out of the baby's hair and carrying the baby around as they're swinging from tree to tree. But I saw this monkey run up to this man. He was a British man, just like Jane. She's British as well. Ran up to this man, climbed up his leg, and tried to steal his bottle of Coke. And the guy was so upset about that. He threw the Coke away, and the monkey went into the garbage, took the Coke, and knew how to open the bottle. That's pretty impressive. What age do you think a child can understand how to open up the bottle cap?
Well, I think probably about 1.5, 2 years.
You think a 2-year-old can open a bottle cap?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Well, but you see that there, you just described the core of the being a scientist. You notice that they have a purpose. They want to do something with a purpose, and that they have opposing thumb, so they can use their hands as we can use it. And that
3 to 4 years old is how old a child can twist off a bottle cap, which means a monkey has at least that type of understanding and hand-eye coordination.
Well, stealing is as well another concept, that this is yours, but now it's going to be mine. That is as well a concept.
Maybe, yeah.
So, but you just described now, what she did. Your observation of the monkey is what limited to an hour or two?
Sure.
Now, imagine how much you could get from that, observing it day in, day out, for years and decades.
Well, and when I was studying, we learned that you really can't observe an animal unless they don't even know that you're there. So, like, those monkeys know that we're there, so we're not really. It was their natural habitat, even though it was human stuff. Like, that's where they live now. But I think what Jane really got to learn is how they behave without understanding that a human is there. Like, they're real natural acting. Because obviously a gorilla or a chimpanzee is going to act differently if it perceives you as a threat.
Yeah. So, have you looked or read or listened to any of her work, or listened to it? She made a lot of talks. She became a celebrity through this persistent perseverance.
No, I haven't read her books or listened to her specifically talking. I've just read books about her.
Yeah, but she made few important discoveries, because, believe it or not, before Jane Goodall, we thought these dumb chimps that They're just like any other animals, that they don't have a society. Now we know they do. They don't have a culture. We know in their way they do. That they don't use tools. Now we know they do. We didn't know they have a hierarchy in their behavior, that there's social interaction, that they have a sense of right and wrong.
And language.
And language, yeah, in a way, in their own way, they have a language. These are all the things that we got from her observation. And she ended up hating chimps, though. Did you hear that?
Of course, I remember why. I remember that she hated chimps, but I don't remember exactly why.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has something to do with chimps' behavior, which is, in a way, take the human society. We are no better with the different that now we have laws and rules and so on and so forth. Like, I think the most important thing that she started really hating the chimp is now how violent they are to each other, and to other animals, and that and like she observed things that we know from her, that a female chimp, there's a male alpha chimp. By the way, the male alpha chimp always hungers or get killed by the younger one. So it's a very violent to
become. What do you mean hungers?
Well, aging male chimp get either casted out
or starves.
Well, if it casted out, starves or get killed, outright killed.
Wow.
And if and you can imagine that's a very violent society there. But the male chimp sleeps with all the females. But outside of the sight of the male chimp, a female chimp sleeps with all other male chimps. Do you know what they do that? Because if a male chimp knows for sure the baby is not his, they do infanticide. That is what chimps are. They're not cute at all. Now, chimps are different than bonobos, okay? So I'm not talking about chimps now.
They kill their baby if they know it's not theirs.
Well, if they know for sure a baby chimp is not theirs, they kill that chimp baby. Now, for that reason, female chimp more or less sleep with every male
to
in
protect
the group
the baby.
We just know what they do. Obviously, it makes sense now that probably that protect the baby. So because not a single chimp is for sure knows that it's not their baby, and so now, even though genetically chimps and bonobos are identical, they are completely different group of animals. And there's since we are going to talk about science of Jane Goodall's work, we should talk a little about that as well. But
did she study bonobos?
I don't believe.
Then let's keep it for a different one. Let's just do Chimps and Jane right now.
Okay, well, bonobos are the juicy ones. But
exactly. That's why I want to keep it for a different one.
So, and as well, she understood the hierarchy in the chimp behavior. Like when chimps, they hunt. We didn't know that either. They literally go and hunt other monkeys and eat them, or any animal they can, and they have a strategy. It's not easy to. No, monkeys can swing from tree to tree. They are very agile. It's not easy.
And chimps are not monkeys.
Yeah, chimps are
their own
ape. They're higher apes. Like there are four actually, in my opinion, apes. They're orangutans, chimps, gorillas, and humans. So 4 of us. There are 4 of us out there.
I agree.
So, obviously the orangutans are extremely smart and very, very social. They can actually, with gesture, they can learn hand
sign language. But I thought that chimps and gorillas can learn sign language as well.
But orangutans are much better. And they're probably on the intelligent level closer to us, to orangutans. Orangutans. But then obviously the chimp and bonobos are genetically identical, and then we have gorillas. But then let's talk about chimp that they strategize, and this is something we know. If you hunt as a group, that is what is pre-required to develop language. Okay. Animals that hunt together they have to communicate. And we know that chimp, they do louds and so on. It's not a language we can recognize, but most likely they are able to do sign language like orangutans. But we know humans most likely have developed as well the sign language before we developed spoken language.
Oh yeah, for sure. I learned sign language before I could speak, obviously, because a baby can't say milk, but a baby can say this.
Okay, but you have to say that as well. I think your mother, that is
my mom's deaf, but my brothers on my dad's side, both hearing parents, they learned sign language before they could speak.
Okay, so what that means is that we are pre-wired to have a language, and before our apparatus to speak language, we still had the brain part to understand language is a concept. It's not just spoken word. Like blind people, when they feel the language, it is for them the same part of the brain becomes active to do that. So that ability of our brain to understand and communicate with language developed long before our larynx developed to speak it. So it's a good indication that humanity learned the sign language before because we had to communicate how we hunt. Same with chimps. It seems that they have much higher level of language, not in a human way, but in their own way that we have really thought about until now. But these are all observations that Jane Goodall helped us to understand. We have now a different concept of these animals than we had before her observation could prove to us. So she truly did a new concept of animal behavior and animal psychology. She, even though she wasn't a scientist, she started the whole new field. Imagine you start a new field of science all by yourself. And when you are in your 20s and 30s, that's what she did. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the things that she learned about tools. I know that she learned that chimpanzees use tools like sticks.
Yeah. And until then, though, that was what would define human against animals. Human use tools, animals don't. You see, we for a very long time, we humans, we are so arrogant to believe that we are beside the animal kingdom, that God created the animal, God created us, and God gave us everything else like we are owners. And we can do whatever we want to do with the rest of the animal kingdom.
Some people think that God made animals for humans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that we are beside the animal kingdom. But now what Jane Goodall could show us that the chimps have culture, they have their own habits, they have their own language, and more importantly, the breakthrough which was very clear, we are not the only animal or we are not the only living being that using tools. Mm-hmm. That we are so good at it. Like, look at that. You are watching me now on computer that worked on the quantum level with electricity and so on and so forth. But all of that started when we started sharpening a stone to cut height of a animal. Okay, now why are we good at creating tools versus chimp? Why are we? That's the question to you, Amanda. Why do you think are we better than chimp to create tools?
Well, that's a really hard question to answer because obviously, you know me, I don't want to agree with you that we're better.
Well, I just want to say we're different. That's not a question. We are better than chimp to create tools. Yeah, but does a
chimp need these?
That's exactly the point. So why did we create a tool? Why did we get good at refining ore to make iron, to make a knife, to cut open the animal to eat it? Because we are weak. Our hands are weak. Our teeth are weak. And that's another story. Literally, a chimp can produce a bite force that can break our bone.
But think about
this. We are so miserable to do that. Because we are so bad at everything else, we have to compensate by our mind to create tool to do the job for us. A monkey can open a hide. It doesn't even
tear it up. They have sharp teeth.
They have Have you seen the canines of them?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. This is why I had a hard time answering that question, because we can make a TV, but now our eyes are terrible.
As a matter of fact,
we can make a tool that makes open stuff that's hard to open, but now our hands are weaker.
A lot weaker, not a little weaker. But you see, that sort of fed to it.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, the reason we became more and more intelligent, because if we weren't,
we would
die like in no time.
Like all the other humanoid type things.
We killed them. That's a different story, but there were more than one kind of humanoid. We, Homo sapiens sapiens, double sapiens, or Cro-Magnon, we killed all the others. So that's another genocide that we have committed in our past. It seems that we love genocide.
Genocide of humans. That's the first genocide.
No, that wasn't the first. It was a series of killing all similar people, similar humanoid or human. Obviously, you see tons of different monkeys, right? Very close to each other. You don't see tons of different human race. As a matter of fact, okay.
That's new. The human races being together is a kind of a newer thing.
Okay, let me tell you. Did you know genetically, 100 to 500 times more different human race in Africa than outside of Africa? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, what happened in Tanzania, in current Tanzania? First humanoid, Lucy, you know that genetically we are all related to her. Mm-hmm. It's a humanoid, looked more like a chimp than like a human, by the way, Lucy. But by the way, as well, if you literally shave a monkey, a chimp, and put a little, think, they look more like human than you would think. So
I even don't think you have to shave them. When I was looking at those monkeys in India, I was thinking, this is not
this is like my brother. This is like, hey, Tony.
Tony, how did you get here? You and your friends go away.
So when we developed in Africa and Tanzania and we start spreading, we diversified. There were so many different of us there. All of them black. And so that was so ridiculous that European colonists, they thought they are better than the different race and so on. But then a small group of them moved out of Africa, became lighter and lighter because they need more sun to absorb, to build vitamin D.
Less melanin.
So you can put all the people out of Africa almost in one group, and then when you go to Africa, you have 100 different genetically different group of people.
Wow. Was Jane mostly studying in Africa, or did she ever study primates anywhere else?
Chimps are mostly in Africa, so I think she was mostly limited to not only Africa but certain part of Africa. But what she could observe over these decades and decades is that how human, I think important, how human-like their behavior is. Even their bad part of how they go and literally commit genocide. Group of chimp go to a neighboring group of chimp, kill them all. Well, maybe sometimes even eat them.
And it's interesting because she hates chimps.
She ended up hating chimps.
But also, it's not that she holds chimps at a different level than humans, because one of her last interviews, I just watched it, she has a list of people, high power leaders, that she also hates. And she says, her dying wish would have been pretty much to send them to outer space on SpaceX. I'm not going to name the people, but you can probably guess based on what you just said about chimps.
But she did probably the best anybody could do to the chimps by giving them legitimacy of the intelligent living thing to be on this planet. And because the worst thing we do is not the poacher and so, obviously all of that is bad, but we sort of get their living space away.
Yeah.
Literally, we go there, no, this place is not yours anymore. We want to farm here. We fall the trees. We take that's sort of close to home right now, what's happening with lots of people in just Palestine and Gaza. That's what we are doing to them. We take their living space away from them. But for 100 years or 1,000 years, that's what we have been doing. We go to where the other animal live, we take their living space away, and we think we own them, we own their living space.
And then we get offended when they're in our living space that actually was theirs.
Yes,
and then we kill them.
Well, that is why it was so funny when we were in India. That is that island, the Elephantas Island, where they have been living for generations, thousands of years, and we think, oh, they're in our living space. No, we are in their living space.
We're in their space.
Yeah.
Just like in my own neighborhood, I have deer, I have foxes, I have owls, but actually their families have probably been there much longer than the houses.
We went just recently to our ranch, Healing Ranch in California. By the way, we have a Healing Ranch in Connecticut. Connect to Amanda if you want to go there and spend the weekend there. And just on our ranch, we saw all these turkeys and deer, all these animals and so on. And even I was saying, what are you doing in my land? Don't eat my trees. Don't eat my vegetables and so on. And whereas that's for them is actually, they have been living there for long before we bought that land.
True.
And just the idea, I think that was the idea that as well unknown to the Native Americans, that you don't own the land. How do you own earth?
Right.
So, and that is, I think, what Jane Goodall did is as well bring this concept to us that they have a legitimacy to live there without interference from us.
Once you start making humans understand that animals have personalities, it's really hard.
Living intelligent being.
Exactly, but like humans like to humanify anything. For example, like when you see your dog and your cat, you're making scenarios in your head about what these animals are thinking and stuff like that. So when you start to personify an animal like a chimpanzee, now it's harder to see them differently than human. Like once you give them a personality, they're closer to you than they were before. So I think she did help us to respect these animals a little bit more.
But she did a little more than that. She didn't just personify them, give them a personship and so on. She made us understand you don't have to be a person like a human to be part of our small ecosystem. Imagine Earth is flying at almost 200,000 miles an hour through the space. It's a spaceship with a very thin, the atmosphere that we can breathe is, take an apple. The living space of this planet is thinner than the skin of that apple, that where you can live.
Compared to the core of the apple, you mean?
Yeah, compared to the whole apple. That is on Earth, how we live. And that's a space that we all share with, like, we couldn't live without plants, without microbes, mushrooms, we are such a small part of ecosystem.
Everything here we need, even mosquitoes, and I hate them, but we still need them.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
I know I did research it because I was thinking like I can't deal with these things. But anyway, I just want to close off by saying one thing that I really love about Jane Goodall is my grandma is 88 years old, so I know what it's like to be 88. She was 91 when she passed away, and she was still doing talks, she passed away actually during one of her tours.
Yeah.
She was still on tour.
But that is the point, when you have such a wealth of experience
and a passion,
your brain stays young.
Yeah. Okay? I saw a photo of her actually on one of her last plane rides that she took. It was because she's on tour and someone posted like, oh my God, Jane Goodall's on my plane. Guess what? She was sitting with a stuffed monkey.
The stuffed monkey.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add about Jane Goodall?
Well, I just want to add to that every one of us can learn something from personal story of Jane Goodall. Everybody told her she cannot do that, she should not do that. She did it anyway. She was curious. She didn't have a pre-requirement that was very hard for her to get there because she didn't have the traditional, biology major or college and so on. She didn't go to Cambridge or Oxford and so on. But she just loved what she did. She did it well. She observed, she wrote it down. And she talked about it.
And that's how she got her PhD, right? Was because she had written everything down, so she submitted all
She
of her
has done
field
more.
notes.
She has done more work than any other PhD would have done. I mean, this is what science is. You know, do you even without the classical path, she contributed probably more than 95% of the other classical path professors and so on to the field. And what I think is important, even though she had her opinion about chimp, she helped them more than anybody else on the planet by bringing awareness that they are part of our ecosystem and they deserve to be preserved and protected.
Exactly. And everyone can be a scientist. You just have to be curious.
Even in your backyard.
Especially in your backyard. I don't think we know enough about our backyards, actually. Yeah. I think most people could spend a whole day in their backyard and still not know everything about what's back there.
Okay, do me a favor. If you have a child between the age of 5 and 7, buy one of those $20 to $30 eBay microscope and ask them take stuff from your, even if you have a small garden, just from the water, just from the anything. Just take stuff out there, put it on the microscope and observe. All of a sudden, you're in a different universe.
Thank you guys for watching. This was Essence of Science, and we talked about Jane Goodall. I'm Amanda Armagost.
And I'm Dr. Bassi for Essence.